All right, we are live. Okay. So, well, I guess opening prayer.
You want me to say it real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank Thee that we could meet today to discuss this case study, and bless that we can learn something new and that we can have the Spirit with us. And we ask these things, Father, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Spiritual thought. You got anything?
I don't really have anything.
Okay. I don't have anything either, so
Okay.
that's totally cool. All right. So number 3. So far, we have learned to evaluate business models of startups. Today, we will examine the business model decisions of a startup in a mature industry. As a group, begin by discussing the following questions. Number 1, was the venture capital industry attractive for A16Z to enter in 2009? So I guess we'll go ahead and start with that. I said no, based on the fact that historically only the top firms generated consistently high revenues. Of those, 3% of firms generate 95% of the industry's returns. And then also the venture capital investments in 2012 returned an average of 8.9 relative to the S&P 500 index at 20.6%.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Kauffman Foundation said that venture capital had delivered poor returns for more than a decade. So overall, compared to 1999 or 1992, the venture capitalist industry was down quite a bit.
Yeah, that's what I put. I read that it was like basically really crummy and that they were having poor returns, like you said, for the past like 10 years. And it was like shrinking in the 90s a little bit. Like, yeah. Like I read in the case, I believe that it said there was a 3% of the companies were making 95% of the revenues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like companies that were making all the money.
Yeah. Now, kind of on the flip side, according to the Exhibit 5, the average venture capital under management per firm went from 1992 was 80 million, and then it shot up to 249 million in 2002, and then a little bit down 5% to 236.9 million in 2012. So that kind of did throw me off a little bit as to saying completely and entirely that the industry wasn't attractive. So I think, if you looked at just those numbers, you would think, well, it seems pretty attractive to me. But when you actually read into the case study and it presents you with, that only 3% of venture capitals made the top 95% of returns, that kind of put a downer on things.
Yeah. So going along with that, like I guess for the second question, what was the competition like at the time? Since there was only the top 3% or the top companies that were making most of the returns, it was really hard to like competition was like cutthroat because it was hard to get like that kind of reputation because people only wanted to go with like the big companies, the companies that people knew about. And so like smaller like startup or smaller like venture capitalists were being like bullied and pushed out by the top companies. So
Yep. Anyway. So I guess that what are the trends in the fund performance during this time? The fund performance.
mm,
Oh, that's talking about just like the funding.
uh-huh.
Um,
I thought they were kind of mediocre just because they weren't looking for big ideas. They were going for like safe bets kind of companies
yeah.
at that time.
Okay. I actually realized I didn't get an answer to that question.
It's fine.
Um,
I got out of it.
okay. All right. So next question. With all the entrenched incumbents and catch-22s, what silver lining did A16Z see? And how did they plan to succeed in this difficult environment?
I think what they saw was that they were in like the tech hubcap, like Silicon Valley, where there's a ton of like IT people, a ton of like the like Harvard, MIT, like Stanford graduates were all there. And so they saw that they had an opportunity for high risk companies because they had like this, like they had smart people with them. And like with the right guidance, they could make their company successful. And so that's what I thought their like silver lining. That's what I thought they saw.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I actually was I kind of went off on a different idea, but I totally agree with that. And I guess I just maybe just to understand the question. So for this, I put that to succeed in a venture capital, you have to be one of the top 5 firms, and to get there, you got to have amazing deal flow.
Mm-hmm.
The new firms founded by individuals who had not previously been VC partners elsewhere had reached the industry's top tier. So pretty much if you hadn't been a VC partner at some other company, trying to create one without being a VC partner at another company was next to impossible to make it successful, according to the history.
Yeah. Like they knew they had like good focus and like people with good background. I mean, I think I read somewhere that like some of them had like amazing IT backgrounds, like some of them worked for Netscape and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like these guys had been in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, $1 million tech startup companies, so they knew the industry, and they knew exactly what they were looking for.
Yeah.
And I think also just having the support that they did. No other VC company had 43 people in their operations.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close.
Yeah.
So how did they plan to succeed in the difficult environment?
Just going along with this, I think like we already talked about it, that they just had like the right people on board with them, people who had the right background and experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they planned.
Yeah, they didn't follow the traditional venture capital model, where it's like have maybe 10, have 4 or 5 or 6 general partners, and then maybe have 10 investing professionals, and then a few other staff members.
Yeah.
Whereas they had, how many professionals did they say they had? I wish we were in this time. Well, they had what, 40? Where is it? There we go, right here. Just gotta rotate this. They had, yeah. So other firms had like, yeah, the top one had 10 investment advisors. Andreessen Horowitz had 9 functional specialists. Other partners only had like 3, 4, 5. They had 43. So, and they not only like they had functional specialists for everything, like marketing, tech, startup, corporate. I can't remember the other two, but they're there. Anyway, so I wrote just some numbers down, like they charged a 2.5% management fee on a committed capital, whereas the average company charged 2 to 2.5. So they're kind of like top cost for that. And then a 25% carried interest on any cumulative net income. The typical VC range was 20% to 25%. So they're right at the top there again for interest on cumulative net income. And also, and we've already talked about this, is they looked for strength rather than a lack of weakness. And they also hired partners who really wanted to do deals instead of partners who were just looking to make money.
Yeah.
All right. So why is A16Z specifically targeting first-time technical co-founders? I like this one. What did you have for this one?
I don't know. I kind of had a little bit like that first question in that part. I didn't really know. Like my guess was just because startups always need a lot of money to start, so that just provides a demand for the venture capitalists. And it was easy because at the moment the IT industry is, like, even now, like IT industry is still expanding like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I got. Kind of going back to the thing of 99, when Microsoft was just starting to become big. They had a 90% market share and 50 million users. And they thought that there was only 50 million internet users worldwide. Now there's well over 3 billion people.
Yeah, for sure.
And to grow a company like Facebook and Twitter to get to 100 million users doesn't only takes a very few amount of years. Whereas before before they would think it would take 15, 20 years to build that amount of users. So it's definitely just a booming industry, I guess.
Which also goes hand with the second question about like the cost and how it's impacted it, because like you said, like now it's easier to access the internet and it's a lot cheaper. So a lot of companies, like a lot of the tech companies now, don't really need venture capitalists because they have more options now to like make money or to like so it's totally like out of their reach. It's totally not like completely out of their reach if they don't go through a venture capitalist to get funding. So, yeah, and I think they were saying, sorry, you can.
Oh no, yeah, I was just gonna say, I guess the downside of that is that it's harder for like we said before, it's harder for the VC companies to actually get a piece of the first time tech companies because there's so many other ways to get that sort of funding now. So it brought the industry down a bit for venture capitalism.
Yeah, and I saw at one point in the article, I believe that they were saying that 10% of the business is trying to find companies to fund, and the 90% and the other 90% is trying to get the right company to pick you,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And so it's now about them. It's now about the the tech startups. It's up to them now to pick, instead of having the venture capitalists picking them.
Mhm.
If that makes any sense.
No, yeah. Mhm. Yep, that does.
And,
Um,
and so do these trends apply to other sectors such as life sciences? Or I think it applies to I think those trends can apply to any of the other sectors, honestly.
yeah, and like I said, with the life sciences and the clean tech, just the way our world has become a very what's the word? Not only technology motivated, but also let's save the environment motivated. Um, the thing for the clean tech companies that's a huge industry right now. So there's definitely a lot of investment opportunities for venture capitalists to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the thing about those companies, I've got it here, was, where is it? Like infotech, biotech, and clean tech. Each of those sectors have different monetary worth, so you can smooth out fund performance if you are diversified.
Mm-hmm.
So they're different. They're worth different things.
Yeah.
Biotech's going to be worth is going to have a different monetary worth than clean tech or infotech. So it's a lot easier to smooth out the gaps that the other sectors hold.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay. Let's see where. Okay, so that. Okay, so what choices do technical founders have for financing that they didn't have a decade before? We've already talked about that. That's just a crowdfunding.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one? I thought I'd written it down, but I guess I haven't. It was crowdfunding.
Mm-hmm.
And then angel investors.
Yeah.
Or now they're starting to get super angel investors, I guess is what they're called.
Yeah. So obviously they have a lot more options now than they did.
Yeah. All right. So think of source as the ability to get founders to come in the door seeking money. How does the way A16Z treats its founders differ from the way a traditional VC treats them? This one was kind of simple and straightforward. From the case study, you could see that even he was it Horowitz or Andreessen, one of the two,
Mm-hmm.
had a bad experience with a VC saying okay, who's really going to be the CEO of this company? Because it's it's not going to be you because you're just a technology dude. So I think they were going to treat the companies that it invests in with super respect. If the founders wanted to be the CEOs, then they were going to do everything they could to help them to get to that point. They were going to be on time to their meetings.
Mm-hmm.
They were actually going to give useful input instead of just saying, well, that's a stupid idea. Maybe we should do this idea. Oh, and then also they were going to say, if we say no, we're also going to explain why we're going to not give you this amount of funding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. What did you have?
Well, there's basically the same thing, that they were like being on time, being, not being too casual, and like not telling them, oh, you need a new CEO, like, but you want a founder to, or not telling them that they needed a new CEO, but they like wanted their founders to remain CEOs. And so I feel like that impacted how companies saw them, because they wanted to give them the tools and the assistance, rather than like, okay, I'm stepping in, this is like what I feel like you're gonna do, this and this,
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. And so another interesting thing that I saw, like in their business model, that their business model talked about having the same salary. So there wasn't any competition like within the company as well. Like it was kind of an all for one, like kind of thing. Like it influenced everyone together.
Yeah, and their pay was even less than what most venture capitalist partners would get anyways. So it's like they're not creating a venture capitalist firm just to make money. They're creating a firm to actually help these companies get going and actually be a part of the companies, versus just giving the companies money and saying, well, you need to do this since we're giving you this.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that helping them and like assisting them and their co-founders, like allowed them to have like a greater reach, like, because it gave them like a good reputation, and so more other people would be like, oh, they would like, what's it say? I wrote down in my notes. Sorry, but it just gave them a greater reach, because it made them have like a more reputable reputation within like companies and like even like the tech startups. And so yeah.
All right. So how will this change if A16Z begins to fire CEOs because they are not performing well? And will this increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of potential deals A16Z compared to their competition? Well, I think that's the biggest difference between them and their competition, is they're not there to, fire a CEO and then say we're taking over. Their whole thing is helping a company get from, where they are to where they want to be. So obviously, if they start to fire CEOs that are not performing well, then they're going completely against their not only their business model, but their stance on on the morality of the company. I guess I'm not sure if that's the right word, but
yeah, I feel like it would decrease, just because a company's culture I feel like a company's culture is driven by its CEO. So it's the CEO that has the vision of where the company is going, kind of thing. So it could possibly, and it just depends, like if they're smart about it, it could possibly be somebody who has the same vision. Like if they did fire somebody and get somebody else new, it could be somebody who does have the same vision for that company, but it could change a lot as well. So, yeah. So I think they just have to be, if they were to do that, they just have to go about it like in a smart way.
Yeah, they'd have to be very careful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, either way, if they start firing a lot of CEOs for companies that they invested in, it wouldn't look good.
Yeah.
And they would lose a lot of deals.
Yeah.
All right.
Where are we at?
So, how does the operating team help A16Z source pick win? Does it increase the odds of getting more high quality deal flow? If so, why? Does it affect A16Z's ability to pick winners? Does it actually have any impact on the odds of success for their portfolio companies? If so, if not, why do you think that?
Doesn't the like isn't the operating team, they go to like the different universities and research the tech startups and tell them, and then come back and tell them if they have any potential or not?
Yeah, that's that. I was under the impression that's what it was. Um,
I think it helps them increase their odds because they didn't just want to invest money, but they wanted
mhm.
to, like, I think it said somewhere that they wanted to become the hub for companies and people. And so they wanted to create a community by picking the right people. So they didn't want to just like invest their money in whatever. Like they wanted to take the time to really like research and really get the best, I guess, of the best, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. Like they wanted to have. Let's see here. Yeah, they had a technical team, an executive team, marketing team, and development, and a corporate development team. So yeah, obviously, the general partners can only do so much, and also the general partners also have their own businesses going at the same time. And so, they can't do it on their own. I guess is what I'm saying is they need help, and so they're gonna do this model where each partner has their own group of operational pros. What are they called? Operational. Um, yeah, operational pros that can go to these colleges and whatnot. Which tech companies are good companies to look into, and also gives them a chance to look at companies that they're looking at more deeply. Like their operations staff have the same ideals as they do, so they can go in and act as not act as a general partner, but go in and examine the company and tell, hey, this is the kind of company they have. This is what their business model is. This is what their ideals are. So yeah. Yes.
And I feel like references also help their success because again, they got that reputation of like, of their business model. They had a reputation for being like having the ability to assist and help in like a tech startup's corporate structure.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that really helped their success as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So does it affect their ability to pick winners? I think we discussed that. It does.
I think
yeah. I think we've gone over the entire thing. Okay. So how many portfolio companies can one general partner reasonably support?
I put down.
I wasn't and here's the thing with this question, I wasn't sure if they're talking about a general partner with the operation staff or without the operation staff. So that's kind of like a question and a question, or a question I had about the question. But on the thing it said usually, well, no, it said that a VC company usually has 10.
That's what I put. I just put 10 companies per GP.
Okay. I wasn't, okay. I was thinking, no, yeah, that sounds right because they invested, to begin with, they invested in 50 different companies. Was it they invested or they looked at 50 and invested in 24? anyways, yeah.
So yeah, I just put 10 companies per partner. And then, are there any economies of scale in this business?
Any economies of scale in this business?
Is that okay? So I was kind of like, does that mean, are they asking like, is having more portfolio companies doable, or does it diminish returns? Like, is that what they're asking? Like, because if that's what it's asking, then I believe that if you double the assets, then I feel like the efficiency drops. Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, the efficiency drops. Also, their ability to be involved in the startups as involved as they want to be. They're not going to be able to be as involved as they want to be if they double their amount of company portfolios.
I mean, but even if they gain more, I don't believe, like, if they gain more companies, I don't believe that they would be saving costs, because the more companies they gain, the more they'd have to start hiring people. And so, like,
well, it's either hire more people, or the general partners have to pitch in a little bit more. Pitch in, not a little bit, but a lot more, double of what they're pitching in to make it happen.
yeah.
Let's see here on my study guide. What have I got here? I've got the answer to that. Okay, so here it says one way to grow a firm's assets under management without one-to-one expansion in the number of general partners would be to increase the amount invested per portfolio company. So, yeah, they would have to double the amount of capital committed to each invested portfolio company. So without increasing, they're pulling more money out of their own pockets. Now, were you talking general partners, or were you talking increasing operation staff? Or both?
Well, I mean, both, because either way, because the more, like, they couldn't just do it because the more they closed in with more companies, the more they'd have to increase their operating staff. They'd have to get more general partners, because like it says, there's 10 companies per like GP. And so if they got more, they would have to increase like the general partners that they have too. And I feel like it would be more of a cost to them, and it wouldn't be worth it. Because I mean,
yeah, no, exactly. It would be more cost. Go ahead.
So I was just gonna say, every startup is a risk. So if you start adding more risk to it, like, it isn't going to really cut your costs.
Yeah, exactly. And also, they, if they were to double the assets under management, they would have to, if they hired more general partners, they also run the risk of losing their business model and their ideals of, having their general partners not just be, these people who invest money into companies and say, okay, well, you're screwing up here, so I'm just going to take over. I think they would lose that edge that they have on their competitors with being how involved they are in their companies.
For sure. So yeah, so I don't know.
Yep.
And so yeah, is that it? I think. Oh, is that it? Do we want to? Okay, for our summary, do we just like recap, or like just what our decision was, like our summary of what our decision of them was?
Let's see here. Yeah, so it's just give your final votes, final decisions, final thoughts for the summary. So, in summary, they should not double their assets under management.
Yeah,
That's what I have.
Yeah, I just say that they should stay in like Silicon Valley because it was even showing that that even if they did want to expand, like there was a few companies in New York, I think, in one of the exhibits showing that, and they like there was like 2 venture capitalist companies in New York, and they didn't even have the best returns. So I just think they should just double down on what they know best, and just like they shouldn't double their assets. Like they have a good system right now, a good business model, and there's no point in venturing to different parts because they're in like the best place right now too. Like Silicon Valley is the best of the best that they're gonna get for the industry. So
yeah, and I mean their growth has been pretty exponential as it is. So I think there's a point to where you have to say, you know, I think we're doing as good as we can, and we're doing good enough. I think if we push any more, then we run the risk of losing our business model, our business idea of being good to our investment companies. There's the slight chance that you could gain a little bit more by investing in more, but they're doing just fine. They have significant growth as is, so sometimes you just gotta call it good.
Yeah. So actually my computer's about to die. It's at 3%. I just realized that. But yeah, so I guess that was our recap. Good discussion.
Yep.
See you next week.
I think we're good. And then I guess we'll plan on Tuesday.
Yeah, sounds good.
We will see you then.
Bye.
All right, we'll see you.